Hello, my name is Michael Valdez, and this video is a self-interview, mostly about my project Blurred Weaponry, Saints of the Void, Book 1. This book is science fiction, but there's little bits and pieces, aspects of it that can be considered fantasy before they're explained, because for me, and for a lot of my inspirations, mixing up the genres is just a lot more fun than being very strict. And I have other works that are sticking to fantasy or science fiction more traditionally, but for Blurred Weaponry, it was a better fit to do it this way. The basic premise of Blurred Weaponry is that a system called the Social Cipher maintains a basic level of infrastructure controlling things like sanitation and construction, emergency relief, food supplies, job training, so on and so forth. Some people really like this system, some people absolutely hate it, and others are immune, which is the basic setup for who is doing what in this universe and why. The story in Book 1 is about how the last living saint, and a saint is someone who is completely immune to the social cipher. The last one of these special people alive is Cosamian Dosto, and he's started a school to train other people to have some of his skills on a basic or sometimes advanced level. The purpose of that is to try and use these people to break away from the slavery of the social cipher, to study it, to figure out how it works. In the beginning chapters of Blurred Weaponry, someone tries to kill Cosamian Dosto, and he doesn't understand why, and the attack is so massive that it leaves a lot of damage, a lot of people dead. He realizes that he has to investigate, and for many reasons, the attack is very odd. First of all, no one should have weapons in a city. The hypnotism controls things like that. The police barely have weapons, and there's barely any police. So how is this happening? When they go after the ones that they saw attack them, Dosto's team realizes that there's a lot more going on, that there's a lot more pieces to this puzzle, and they end up in places that they've never seen before, and against enemies they never imagined. The tone of this book, and a lot of what I write, can best be described as pretty layman. I don't really know what I'm doing as a writer. Well, that's not entirely true. I've written a lot of stuff, but this is my first novel, so this is the first time I've had a story that has to circle in on itself like this. And when I write characters, they're very down to earth. They have realistic motivations and sometimes a realistic bit of confusion about what their motivations should be. They get hurt and they sometimes don't know how to deal with what's going on. They get distracted, which I really like. Feels weird to say that out loud about my own work, but I'm sure authors have to like what they do or else they would stop. And I really do like what I do and what I'm doing with this universe and these characters. I hope that people find this down-to-earth way of telling a story to be appealing. That's how I like my stories told. That's sometimes some of my favorite stuff ever. And I hope that has inspired me to do something at least kind of good, or maybe at least not terrible. My inspirations for writing, I don't think are super conventional, or at least not normal in the way other authors have been inspired to write. I guarantee I've read 1/100th of the books that any other author, like in the same genre, has. And I think that actually helps me because I don't use the same rules and conventions that other writers do. Sometimes I see something in a book I'm reading that is, oh wow, this is really cool and this is really interesting. And after reading more books in that same genre, I realize, oh, that's just standard. That is normal. Iron is supposed to be a magic blocking element. I had no idea until like 2 years ago. And I'm 34, I should have known that probably, right? But at the same time, those little things like iron blocking magic don't matter as much as the characters and what the characters do. So I always have been inspired by stories where the universe is secondary and what the characters do in that universe is primary. Throw the characters into a horrible pool of trouble and let them think and figure their way out in unique and creative ways. Some of my other inspirations are, to be more specific, maybe anime, video games, the works of Joss Whedon, Patrick Rothfuss, and other writers that really like to explore characters as much as world, or more than world. For personal inspirations, there's the penny arcade people who basically started something from nothing and just work and work and work to achieve these amazing things. Gary Whitta, who just constantly cranks out cool stuff all the time and who's still not a nightmare of a human being because of it. There's also Lindsay Buroker, who I first heard of when I randomly bought and read the first Emperor's Edge novel, and it was incredible. She put out a bunch of books in that series and had these great characters and this great story. There was so much humor and so much realistic fun and conversation in it that's one of the actual real literal biggest things that made me want to write a book, that inspired the way that I write. Well, that certainly took a lot longer than I thought it would, but that was my little self-interview and introduction. The book that I mostly wanted to support with this video is Blurred Weaponry, Saints of the Void Book 1. It is available right now for pre-order on Inkshares.com, a crowdfunded publisher, and I certainly hope I sell a few copies or something here and there. I also have another sci-fi draft for something called Sinopia Property Management, a book about a Martian realtor in the age of the planet being terraformed. It's stupid and weird and I like it. It's not available for a while, but you can follow it there if you want. Thanks and peace out.